Good evening. My name is Michael Brown, the Dialogue Coordinator at Assumption University, Windsor's Roman Catholic University, federated with the University of Windsor. Before we begin, we wish to respectfully acknowledge the Westview Freedom Academy resides on the traditional lands of the Three Fires Confederacy, comprised of the Ottawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi. We are grateful to learn, live, and work on these lands. On behalf of our co-sponsors, Assumption University's Stephen Jaslovsky Chair in Religion and Conflict, and the South Asian Center, I welcome you to this evening's panel entitled Celebrating Diversity, Religions of South Asia. The panel will explore 8 religions of South Asia, including Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Humanism, Jainism, Islam, Sikhism, and Zoroastrianism. I'm practicing that. I'll be perfecting it by the end of the day. The panelists will discuss the major beliefs of their faiths, allowing the audience to develop an appreciation of the diversity across the region in the spirit of interfaith dialogue. At this point, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our moderator for the evening, Dr. John Capucci, who serves as the president of Assumption and the Stephen Jaslovsky Chair in Religion and Conflict. Dr. Capucci.
Thank you all for joining us this evening. This is a very special evening for me. It's one of the largest panels that I've ever facilitated in my life. So this is eight individuals, so it's going to be a historic moment for everyone, but also a great opportunity for us to learn about the various religions in South Asia. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce a very special guest that's with us this evening. We're joined by one of our members of Parliament, MP Kathy Borelli, representing Windsor, Tecumseh, and Lakeshore. 3 now, that's right. So welcome, MP Borelli. And I am very grateful to the leadership and the team at the South Asian Center. Some are even on the panel, on the sides here, who have been very helpful in organizing this very special event with their community. We're very fortunate at Assumption University to have such strong ties to the South Asian community, so we're very looking forward to more opportunities as we go on. Before we actually start talking to our special guest today, the president of the South Asian Center, Dr. Faisal Baki, my colleague, has a few words of welcome to offer. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the South Asian Center of Windsor, I'm pleased to welcome you to the Celebrating Diversity, Religions of South Asia event. This event began when Dr. John Capucci contacted us, Rukshini Panian, Sean Dash, and myself with the idea of hosting an interfaith panel. We immediately welcomed the initiative. From our center, Ms. Nandini Tirumala, our program director, devoted significant effort to organizing, coordinating, and promoting tonight's program. I want to express my sincere thanks to her for her hard work. I also wish to thank Dr. Capucci for his initiative and for sponsoring this meaningful event through the Stephen Jaslovsky Chair in Religion and Conflict. We are grateful for this partnership. Finally, thank you all, the organizers, our panelists, and each of you in the audience for being here this evening. I hope you enjoy the conversation and insights that follow. And when you return home, you feel inspired to deepen your own interfaith dialogue and to encourage your respective communities to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mackey, for the very warm introduction. And again, on behalf of Assumption University, we're very happy to partner with the South Asian Center. At this point, it's my pleasure to introduce our 8 panelists. And as you can see, we have 8 individuals from 8 various religions represented in South Asia. So we will start to my left with Ms. Sonia Lama, representing the Buddhist tradition. Representing the Christian tradition, we have Dr. Roni Roy Chowdhury. Representing the Hindu tradition, we have Mr. Rakesh Naidu. In double duty today, we have from the humanist tradition, Dr. Faisal Baki. Representing the Jain tradition, we have Ms. Divya Jain. Representing the Muslim tradition, we have Ms. Mariam Khan. Representing the Sikh tradition, we have Mr. Harleen Singh Sandhu. And representing the Zoroastrian or Parsi tradition, we have Ms. Delna Buhariwala. Welcome. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask the panelists the first question, which is a very brief question, but an important one. Many folks might not be aware of some of the tenets of each of the 8 religions, that after hearing from them, they're going to be. So what we're going to ask is if each religion could give, a representative could give a 2 to 3 minute, I know that's challenging, but a 2 to 3 minute overview of their religious belief and tradition. So as brief as possible. And then we're going to talk about the interfaith dialogue component. So we'll start off with, who wants to start off? I don't want to pick on anyone. Do you want to start, Divya? Okay, we'll start with Divya. How's that? Divya is representing the Jain tradition.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Professor, for this wonderful opportunity. I've spoken on many interfaith events and getting into Jainism, so born into a Jain family. What is Jainism stands for? I used to do Hinduism basically, but I'm getting used to Jainism now, trying to be honest and obedient to my faith as well. So it's a philosophy. Jainism has a lot to do with being ascetic, very strict pathway, I would say, but addresses a lot of cosmological, metaphysical, and different kind of answers and approaches to the reality. How what is being practiced, although by the general Jain people or laymen or the monks, is number of vows. There are 5 vows, and it can differentiate based on if you are a layman, then the definitions could change, like do not steal, it's called asteya, speak truth, it's called satya, or practice truth, do not be very materialistic, and be very non-violent. Non-violence is at the heart and core of Jainism, and we say that be very non-violent. It's not just in actions, but also in thoughts. As in a Jain household, we practice, rituals and worshipping and something called samvatsari, or practicing the prayers in the evenings, where they try not to eat anything that grows underground in terms of tubers. So the non-violence is to the level where they try not to even kill the microorganisms. The reality, they say in terms of anikantavad, or we say in anikantavad, meaning that there are different approaches to reality. So I can have a different approach than what you can have. And that's how there is pluralism in Jainism. Jainism could not spread much outside of India. I think there are multiple reasons to it. But I think one of the reasons is it being too strict as well. And it's difficult to follow and difficult to keep going. But it can be traced back in terms of, apart from the oral tradition, the first written tradition can be found in about for 2nd to 3rd century, but it originated, they say that the origins have gone back to 5th or 6th BCE. That's when it can be traced back. So it's a religion of non-violence, but sees reality from different perspectives, very plural in nature, has a lot of connection with Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism. So when we further the dialogue, then we can come back to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Divya, and that's an important point to note about the overlaps between Hinduism and Jainism, which is something unique. So we'll move then to Mariam, representing the Muslim tradition, if she wanted to give a brief overview of Islam.
So basically, in Islam, we've got the 5 pillars, which is to believe in God, His messengers, pray 5 times a day, fast. I think everyone has probably heard of Ramadan. So once a year or a month we will fast, and then we've also got to believe in the books, giving zakat. So zakat is called, it's giving charity. And, sorry, I'm writing everything down. And also to do the pilgrimage. So you go to Mecca and you do a pilgrimage to God. And you have to do that once in your life, given your circumstances. So if you can't afford it, of course you're not expected to do so. But basically, the religion is about kindness and showing a way of life. So showing discipline. That has to do with the 5 times of prayer, waking up to do the prayer, remembering God throughout the day. So you can't just pray the 5 prayers, wake up, get it out of the way. They're done at specific times to show that, you know, you're remembering God throughout your day. And then also making sure that others are equally treated. So you're giving. If you have, you give. And during Ramadan, especially at the end of Ramadan, we tend to give a lot, and it's part of our religion to sacrifice an animal, so to say, and then give that animal to those who need it. So, you know, always making sure that everyone around us is well taken care of. Take care of your neighbor, you know? And then, again, with discipline, showing that you can fast during the day, and pray and keep God in mind. The discipline comes from the fasting. Like, it's all very symbolic. You're symbolizing your control. You're showing that you can control yourself, you know, by not eating or drinking. And it's just, you know, to remember God and to remember people, because in that month, you should give throughout the year, but in that month we are very giving, because we're trying to show that we're not just about ourselves, but God and all of us around us.
Thank you, Mariam, and we'll move on to Harleen, representing the Sikh tradition. And I should note that Harleen and Mariam are both former students of mine, so don't hold that against them.
Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you, everyone, for coming here tonight. Today, I will be representing Sikhism, also called Sikhi. Sikh actually comes from the Sanskrit word, which means shishya, or a student. And Sikhism follows this ancient Indian tradition of a guru and a shishya tradition, which means a teacher and a student relationship, where the teacher is not only a teacher who teaches you about the worldly affairs, but also the teacher who talks about the affairs of the godly affairs, about morality, about all the wonderful things that you need to live. And what is interesting is that Sikhism emerges in this very ancient land called Punjab, the land of 5 rivers, which is a rich land in terms of spirituality. Ancient Buddhism emerges in Punjab, Jainism emerges in Punjab, you've got Hinduism in Punjab, and Punjab is a very important place for Islam. And yet in the 15th century, at the same time when Columbus was discovering America, Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism, is born. in a place called Nankana Sahib, which is right next to Lahore in present-day Pakistan, and starts this tradition. One of the main, the fundamentals of Sikhism is that there are actually three very important rules that Sikhs follow. One is Naam Japo, which means remember the divine, the one God. Sikhs, by the way, believe in one God who is omnipresent, who has no form, and that also comes from an older Indian tradition of Advaita, which means God doesn't have a form. That's one version of it. And so Sikhs actually follow this idea that God is formless. That's first, Naam Japo. One Shako, which means share. You live in a society and it's your duty to share with everybody. Naam Japo, One Shako, and Kirt Karo, which is a very important part of Sikhism. Kirt Karo really means that you have to earn your livelihood. So Sikhism is anti-ascetic. You cannot be an ascetic. You cannot depend on begging, asking for daan, which is like a charity. So these are three very important fundamentals of Sikhism. Sikhs have 10 gurus. So Guru Nanak began Sikhism, and his successors are gurus. And the system of gurus actually went until the 17th century, the 18th century, around the same time when we had the Great Fire of London. Guru Gobind Singh was the last guru of the Sikhs, and during that succession, Sikhs actually transformed into what we recognize them as wearing symbols that are quite recognizable. Turban is a very important part of Sikhism, like a uniform. The 5 Ks, the 5 symbols that Sikhs wear, actually developed during that time period and had its own political reasons for that. So that is Sikhism, and today modern Sikhism really still goes back to these 3 fundamentals, which is remember God, share with your neighbors and the needy, and work towards your livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you, Harleen. Harleen is also an author, and if you look over here, he has published a book, and I have it over here, it's for sale, if individuals want. It's called The Lost Here, and it talks about women in colonial Punjab, which is seen as the ancestral homeland of the Sikh community. So for me, it gives me a lot of pride to see one of my students go on and publish such a very voluminous and informative text. So congratulations, Harleen. I'm very proud. And we'll move to Delna. Delna represents a very small but very ancient religion, going back, I think 700 BCE maybe? I would assume. It's called Zoroastrianism, and some of you might have heard of it as the Parsi tradition, and they're used interchangeably. So, Delna, tell us a little bit about the Zoroastrian tradition.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite as well. When Nandini called me to tell me about the event and asked me to speak about Zoroastrianism, the first question in my mind is, are you sure, Zoroastrianism? And that's part of the experience, my experience at least having moved from India to North America, because our community now is quite small. But to back up a little bit, one of the first things that you hear is the Parsi. Parsis is the group of Zoroastrians that moved from Persia and now Iran to Bombay or India because of political circumstances. One of the first things that you hear is that you are part of one of the world's oldest monotheistic religion. And between you and me, there's a belief within the community that you are part of the religion that later influenced many religions to come, and it's a point of pride in the community. So the Zoroastrianism is the followers of the prophet Zoroaster that lived about 3,500 years ago, and growing up in this religion meant knowing about certain core beliefs. For example, I was told from a very early age about the value of personal responsibility. So the dualism between good and bad, this constant dance that happens between light and dark, good and bad, was just something that was very much integrated into life, and that rolled into how you speak, what you think, what you do, good thoughts, good words, good deeds, or manashni, gavashni, kunashni, are very fundamental to how you live your life, the way that you speak. So even we have fire temples. So one of the things that I really enjoyed, especially having moved here, is I didn't have the belief that I needed to be in a particular place or a particular building to gather and pray. I could maintain an altar at home and feel very connected to the spirituality and the religion in that way. So in that sense, it was quite a freeing experience. But I remember my mom saying that, if you didn't want to get up and go to the fire temple, this is really part of your good thoughts, good deeds. Is this really something that you want to do? So it was a little bit of a double-sided sword. But I will stop here for now. I'm sure we'll get to more in the questions so that we can continue on with the panel.
Thank you, Delma. When I was meeting with the South Asian Center, I insisted we have a Zoroastrian on the panel, so I'm very happy that you're here. Thank you. We'll move all the way on this side now to the panel, and we have Sonia Lama representing the Buddhist tradition, and she's representing actually 2 out of 3 of the Buddhist schools. If she's going to share that maybe with you. So welcome, Sonia.
Okay, good evening everyone. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Sonia Lama. I am born and raised in Nepal, and I landed in Canada in 2023 for my studies. Currently I am as a PSW as a profession, and I'm working at Sligo Villages. So today I'm honored to share my journey with Buddhism and how it has transferred and shaped my life. Before I begin, I would like to offer homage to Buddha and take refuge. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Fully Enlightened One. Lama Lakhyap Singji, I take refuge in the Guru. Sangye Lakhyap Singji, I take refuge in the Buddha. Choy Lakhyap Singji, I take refuge in the Dharma. Gendin Lakhyap Singji, I take refuge in the Sangha. So, if you're wondering why I took this refuge, is because it's the first thing that when we start a prayer or when we are doing something good, like we have to pray this. In Vajrayana Buddhism, we have to first take our refuge and then we start ahead. So I would like to start first with my journey with Buddhism. I was born into a Buddhist family in Nepal. My interest towards Buddhism began long before I understood the word religion, and it began in the quiet moments of my childhood, watching and listening to my grandparents pray in their Pali chants, like they used to chant in their Pali, and then they used to kneel and pray, praying for all the sentient beings from suffering. Their prayer said, may all who suffer knows the process of suffering. And they used to take 5 vows that are avoid killing, avoid stealing, avoid sexual misconduct, that is avoid cheating to the partner, and avoid intoxication. So they prayed that, and may all be free from the illness, free from defilements, even the unseen ghost. So they used to pray for the unseen ghost and mosquitoes and insects, I was like very curious, like why do they, pray for the insects and creatures, all that. So that, whatever merit and they used to pray like that, and they used to pray that whatever merit I have accumulated, may I offer equally for the benefit of all beings, that they have from the cycle of samsara and attaining liberation. So I felt that prayers were so powerful and meaningful to me. So I was always curious, and then I used to question my grandparents, like, I was very curious as a child, and then I was asking them, like, what is this? Like, I want to know more. Like I was very curious at the very beginning. So I remember that I was killing mosquitoes while I was a child here and there. And my grandfather told me one day, "Oh no, don't kill that. It's a sin. Don't kill it. You'll get a sin." And then I used to say, like, how am I getting a sin? Like he's sucking my blood. And then why will I not kill it? So he replied, that mosquito was born because of his own karma, and you have the choice to not to kill it. And then they don't have a choice, but you have a choice. So it's up to you. If you don't want to be a mosquito next life, then don't kill them. Try to shoo them away. I was debating him for so long, right? So it didn't make any sense to me that time as I do now. So, but due to that incident, that from that day, like I feared that I would be born a mosquito as a mosquito next life. So I stopped killing mosquitoes on that day. So from the 5 vows, I am not a perfect practitioner. So I'm not I don't know much about deeper level in Buddhism philosophy, although I know that 5 vows, but I still am trying to following all the Buddhist vows, but still I know I have broke them. I have went with my friends, like partying and stuff, right? So I have broken that vows, but still I am trying my best. So I'm very grateful towards my grandparents. So this platform has given this opportunity to thank them. I'm very grateful and thank you. I thank them and try to do as much as I can for them, even if that is nothing compared to what they have breathed the seed in me. So as I grew older, I went through a very painful and lowest period of my life. Anxiety and panic attacks became my best friends. I remember I used to get up like at 3 a.m. in the morning having panic attack, and then I was so much in pain that I thought there was a stone in the chest inside me, and then the kind of pain where if somebody sold a medicine for $1,000, I would get that if that relieved me from that pain. So then I used to question a lot, sitting and praying, and then I used to ask God, why me? Why am I suffering like this? Why I'm not that bad, I'm a good person. I've not knowingly hurt someone, right? So why me? I used to question a lot. So then that time I met one monk, a lama, and then I asked him, why am I suffering like this? What is the solution for it? I asked him, and he smiled and replied me, he said, why do you always say I, my, I, my? Why you are so tightly holding into my eye? That question changed everything. It made me look myself very differently, not as a victim of emotions, not as a fixed identity. The mostly I accepted myself, like my flaws and my insecurities, whatever. I started accepting things as they are. Those days I felt suffering is real. I felt that time the suffering is real. I was not in physical pain, but mentally I was so disturbed. So then he told me, I asked him for the solution. He was like, okay, pray your prayers and do every day chants, it will help you. I started waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and then I remember that I used to wake up 5 a.m. in the morning, praying, and then non-stop chanting the same prayers. I used to do it continuously. I used to cry while praying that whatever sin that I had accumulated in the past life, or now knowingly or unknowingly, please forgive me, because I knew at that time suffering was not because of others, like not because of outsiders. Suffering is because of our own bad deed of like our own, through our body, speech and mind, right? So at that time I knew like that the suffering was created by me, and it's also I am only the solution for myself. Not everyone can, come and then dust my sin and go away, right? So this way, I used to, visualize them like the deity in the sky, and then I used to visualize them, and I felt like her aura is like transcending me, her every like compassion, wisdom, and kindness, her every quality is like transforming me, and I'm blessed like by her, blessings. And I felt that, and I carried it in my heart, and that quietly after that, something very shifted in me. Like the stone that I said previously, like it was something there, like it was gone. I felt very light, like a feather. My heart was like a cotton. So that day I found peace, and then I was very, very thankful to that Lama who was encountered in my life. So then again, with the blessings of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, I made my root guru, my spiritual master, Chogyal Rinpoche. His Holiness is 14th reincarnation of Samarpa Guru. So in Nepal, he started REPA program, which is like 3 years of course. So in this program, we practice Vajrayana. So in this, like we practice Vajrayana, there is a step-by-step in Vajrayana, this one. So after the 3 years, if we do well, there is many more to do further. So then my mother and I started joined the second generation of REPA. I think there is 7th batch like now going on, like which is soon to be started. Our Chogyal Rinpoche has like different students in different countries, like in Europe, China, and also in Nepal, but in Switzerland as well. Yeah. So I entered into Vajrayana practice from him. After getting to know about the secret teachings and the Vajrayana practices, I felt like it is cleaning my dust from my heart, like cleaning something away from me. I realized how important it is to know that the taste of suffering. Because if I didn't have that suffering, I wouldn't be so interested into Buddhism, and I wouldn't be interested into the liberation. I knew like suffering is there. Like it's not in physical form. It doesn't have to be in physical, but like mentally. Like now in the modern era, we have like depression, anxiety, that stuff is like common now, right? So that I felt like the suffering is, so I was very blessed to, the suffering was, I felt like blessing in disguise. I'm happy how I encountered such thing in my life and got to meet my master and my dear Sangha. Through the practices and the powerful teachings he explained, I realized that suffering starts with I, self-centered attitude, the poisons that are created by 5 senses, like through our eye, nose, taste, hearing, and through our body, speech, and mind. So, as I say this, so how does these 5 senses does that suffering? How it leads to suffering? So I would like to give an example. So if you like a chicken, right? So let's share an example. Chicken. You wanna eat that more. You wanna know that more. You don't wanna have like fruits or salads. You just want that more, and that cravings create suffering. That's just an example. So in Buddhism, we believe Buddha as a teacher, not consider him as a god. Buddha taught us we are our own master. But that doesn't mean you won't need a master in order to walk path for the liberation. For example, if you want to climb a Mount Everest, right, you need to have a guide, a Sherpa. So he knows where to go, he knows the blockages, he knows where the challenges are, right? So you need a master in order to follow the path. So it is very important to have a master who has knowledge and has a deeper experience. So maybe you all know that Sakyamuni Buddha was born in Nepal at Lumbini. In the full moon day, later he got enlightened at Bodh Gaya, India, under the Bodhi tree at the age of 35. Then later, Parinirvana was at the age of 80 at Kushinagar, India. So I'm not expert in Buddhism philosophy, but I would like to share his core principles, how the Buddhism started, what's the core value of it. So Buddhism starts with 4 noble truths. The truth of suffering. As I said earlier, life is very unpredictable and impermanence is there. Like in our own body, every cells are dying, right? In every second, cells are dying. So life contents full of suffering, not only physical pain, but also like loneliness, dissatisfaction, heartbreak, illness, and anything can happen. We may cross the road and then something happen, some accident happen, and we might be paralyzed, right? So what can we do? So it's not, the suffering is there, it's so unpredictable. Life is very fragile, right? So the second is the truth of the cause of suffering. How does suffering happen? As I said earlier, through the body and speech and mind. So how does suffering comes? Because of the 5 poisons: anger, hatred, jealousy, craving more, and desiring more and more, attachment, never-ending needs of human beings. So the third is the truth of end of suffering. So question is, how can we end this? By cultivating loving and kindness, compassion, knowing that nobody in this world wants to suffer. As much as I want peace, you also want peace, right? As I don't want to suffer, you don't want to suffer. So everyone wants to be happy and peaceful. So I think if we practice this, and also to be able to practice mindfulness, being mindful of every thought and actions, may you think more mindful before you act restlessly, then you have a choice to act. So being mindful has to be there in order to, have a good action outward. So fourth is the truth of the path, the 8 noble paths. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So I would like to share one of my liked video that I saw in the YouTube, or I saw in the social media. So I saw one video of Dalai Lama Guru. He was being asked by a girl, how do we overcome negative emotions? And then he replied, it is mainly related to the 2 things. Self-centered attitude, always I, mine, I need this, I need that, it's mine, I need this word, right? And then self-centered attitude, and second is, he said, we accept reality as it appears. And he mentioned also sunyata, emptiness, nothing exists as it appears. So all the negative emotions are very much based on that appearances, outside. So once you realize that there is upaya, solution, which is altruism. Altruism is the antidote of self-centeredness.
So Nia, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. This is great. I just want to go on to our next panelist, but I think what you said is right. I remember my high school motto was for others, not oneself. And I think that's what you were talking about, was a less focus on the I and more focus on the others. So that summarizes Buddhism pretty well, and actually summarizes a lot of the other religions as well too. So thank you. We'll move on to Dr. Chowdhury, who will talk about Christianity.
Dr. Kabuchi, Dr. Brown, the organizers, the panelists, and respected audience. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I would like to extend a Christian greeting to all of you. Today I'm presenting Christianity. While I've been thinking, what should I be talking about, I realized I should be saying first, who are Christians? And that would lead us to the definition of Christianity. So the Christians are the followers of Christ. Jesus Christ, that's the name that I would like to refer to. Whoever follows Christ are Christians. We have the Bible, Holy Bible. We have 27 and 39, total number of 66 books in this Bible, and we believe this is inspired by Holy Spirit. One of the areas that comes first in my mind is as a doctrine. Am I too loud? No, you're good. Okay, good. One of the doctrines is the Trinity. Trinity, it simply means triune God. We have one Godhead, and it has God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Okay, 3 in 1. It's very difficult for others to understand, but we as Christians, we do understand it very clearly. Okay, the next doctrine that I should be talking about is the virgin birth of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, that he was incarnated. He is one of the Godhead. He came as the Word took flesh and he dwelt among us. John chapter 1 verse 1 it says. So again I would like to reinstate, the Word was with God and the Word was God. And then John chapter 1 verse 1 says, and the Word came, took the flesh and dwelt among us, which simply means the plan of salvation was planned long before the creation of the earth. God knew children of Adam, and Adam, everybody will fall short of glory, meaning they will sin and they will be out of heaven. And therefore, Jesus Christ, the Word, will take the human form in flesh, and he will come, he will shed blood, because blood purifies the sin. And that sacrifice would lead us to that grace, and through that grace we can be saved, which is called the salvation. Okay, so I went from virgin birth to the cross. Jesus Christ gave up his life so that we can be saved. So John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. So that is the ultimate goal of Jesus coming onto this earth, taking human flesh and dying on the cross, sacrificing his life on the cross for the sake of you and me, and his resurrection. He was resurrected, and right now he's alive, and he's in heaven. So that's the resurrection part, another doctrine. And salvation by grace through faith. This is extremely important in Christianity. Our good deeds, Bible says, are rags, filthy rags. That means whatever we do, good deeds, we cannot achieve salvation, but we can only achieve salvation by grace through faith. Okay? And we also have have another doctrine that Jesus Christ one day will return and he will lead us to heaven. Okay, so that's all. The major tenet of Christianity is love, and it says faith, hope, and love. Among these three, the greatest is love. Faith, hope, and love. Among these three, love is the greatest. So, God gave up his son because he loved us. And Jesus put forth two major principles we call the golden rules, which is the number one says, love your God with your heart, soul, and mind. Number two says, the second principle, love your neighbor as thyself. I assure you, I can tell this with a great pleasure and faith that if we all could love all of our neighbors, and who are neighbors? Everybody, each and everybody on this earth. If we all could love each and everyone the way I love myself, I would tell you, this world would have turned to be heaven. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Chowdhury. That was very illuminating. It reminded me of Sunday school. I like that. We'll move on to Rakesh, representing the Hindu tradition.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. First of all, congratulations for hosting this event and for having all of us here. It's quite an honor to be here. 8 major faiths from South Asia, and it's wonderful to see how we are sharing some of the things that we hold very near and dear to us from our faith, and how there are certain common themes that we're seeing, and love being one of them. So I'm really delighted that we can be here sharing and learning from each other, and really also thinking loud here that how beautiful this world would be if we can just take this, the space that we are in today, in which way there is so much of absorption and so much of sharing, and go out in the world and replicate this. And I'm sure if we can do that, this would be a beautiful world that we could all live in. So I'm going to talk about Hinduism. It's a very ancient religion, and actually it was never meant to be a religion. It was started as a way of life. So Hinduism is nothing but a science of consciousness. It is a philosophy of life and a celebration of existence. So unlike many traditions, some are rigid, some are not so, Hinduism explores and encourages exploration, self-inquiry, and freedom of thought. It recognizes that individuals may connect with the divine in unique ways, some through devotion, some through service, some through knowledge, some through meditation, and some even through art and music. So this inclusiveness is captured in the principle which is very intrinsic to the faith, and it is called Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Sure. Is it better? Yes. Yeah. And what Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means that the world is one family. So this ancient idea beautifully expresses Hinduism's universal outlook. It teaches us that beneath our differences, whatever that be, whether that's differences because of culture, language, or belief, we are part of one humanity, one human race. So Hinduism is often called Sanatana Dharma, which actually is the true name of the religion. It means the eternal way, or the eternal way of living. And it is eternal not because it is old, but it is eternal because its principles are timely and universally applicable. So there are several texts that we find very, very useful, because these texts are really manuals for life. They cover philosophy, ethics, health, mathematics, music, governance, and even the science of mind. Some of them are the Vedas, which are one of the oldest and the most revered scriptures, the Upanishads, which are the philosophical masterpieces that explore the consciousness, the nature of self, and the meaning of life. Bhagavad Gita, as many of you would have heard, is a 700-verse dialogue filled with life lessons. In this handbook, which is called the Handbook of the Mind, it addresses confusion, duty, fear, courage, clarity, and purpose. Its teachings are timeless and applicable to every generation. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is a concise, scientific guide to meditation and mind management. The Puranas, mythological stories that make spiritual practices accessible to all generations. So together, all these texts, they form the knowledge and they help us to move from knowledge to experience, from philosophy to transformation. One of the Hinduism's great strength is the acceptance of diverse spiritual paths. So it believes that there is no one way to attain the highest. There are so many ways and they all lead to that one. In Hinduism, the divine, the consciousness, God, whatever you call it, is called Nirakar, meaning there is no form. That form exists everywhere. It's in every animate and inanimate object. In you, in me, in everything that exists. In fact, there is nothing that exists outside of that formless creator. So Hinduism embraces multiple ways to reach the divine. And in Hinduism, life is seen as a celebration. It's not seen as something that we are here to suffer for. It is actually seen as an experience that we come here to evolve, to merge back with the divine, to really experience the love that the divine has, for which this creation was created, and to really be one with the consciousness. So for Hindus, life is sacred, and every moment is an opportunity to grow in awareness. Thank you.
Thank you, Rakesh. And you're quite right to point out that it's more of a way rather than a religion. That idea of religion came a lot later during the colonial period, so that's a good point. And finally, Dr. Baki, who's going to represent the humanist tradition.
Will there be a second round of questions?
There's a second round, yeah.
Thank you.
And we're going to start with you for the second round.
Okay. We are here 7 faiths but 8 panelists. And that means, that is how it was stated on the advertisement, I think, the flyer. So that means humanism is not a faith. I think I agree with that. Humanism is a way of life grounded not in any single scripture or authority, but in reason, compassion, and our shared human experience. There are many Bangla speaking, so let me say, Shabar upore manush sotto, tahar upore nai. Humanity is the highest truth. Chandidas, a 14th century poet, said this: humanists hold that every person should be free to follow the path that nourishes their heart and conscience. There is no single road meant for all. My role is not to tell anyone which faith to follow, any of 7 or more, but to walk my own path and respect the journeys of others. South Asian poets and philosophers have expressed humanist ethic. Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore reminds us that beyond nationalism lies our true identity, humanity. Kamini Rai, a female South Asian poet, said, "We are not born for ourselves alone, but for one another." Very much like what our Buddhist panelist was saying, if I'm not wrong. Tiruvalluvar, a 2,000-year-old poet, teaches us that compassion toward all beings is the highest virtue. Also said, Anve Shivam, love is God. Very much like our Christian panelist, what was saying Dr. Rani Rai. Subramaniam Bharati said, every place is my home, every person is my king. Kabir Das, again 14th, 15th century poet, said that the oil is one. Though the pots are many, a reminder that religions vary, but the source of love is the same. Now I will say some Bangla again from Kazi Nazrul Islam. 1920, he wrote something that is still valid today and inspiration for many. গাহি সাম্যের গান যেখানে আসিয়া এক হয়ে যায় সব বাধা ব্যবধান. In English we might say, let us sing the song of equality where all barriers and divisions dissolve into oneness. This is something we are still talking about in Canada. Very hot topic, equity, diversity, inclusion. Humanism embraces the ideals of the modern welfare state, justice, equity, and pluralism. We believe that laws must serve people, not the other way around. Law must acknowledge sufferings and evolve through continuous improvement. Another Bangla, this time from Bhupen Hazarika, a very contemporary singer. Manush manusher jonne, জীবন জীবনের জন্যে বলো কি তোমার ক্ষতি জীবনের অথই নদী পার হয় তোমাকে ধরে দুর্বল মানুষ যদি. In English it says, people are for people, life is for life. What do you lose by offering a little compassion? If across the endless river of life, a weak person crosses by holding your hand. Bhupen Hazarika has been given highest award in India. You know, there are 4 civilian awards. He got the highest Bharat Ratna. This is the spirit of humanist practice. Participate in building society, be kind in words and actions, volunteer, donate, and help people, support justice, fairness, and inclusion for all. Humanism is not anti-religion. Humanism is not anti-religion. So I have no contradiction with any of these 7 other panelists. Humanists love people. It honors all faiths and traditions out of love, respect, and care for people. Allama Iqbal said, my ancestors searched for God. I search for the human being. And Fakir Lalan Shah said, asked not, Shabloke koy lalon ki jat সংসারে. Religion is not what you ask for, but মিলন হবে কত দিনে আমার মনের মানুষের সনে. When shall I meet my human self? Divinity is found in our relationships, our responsibilities, and our daily acts of compassion. Rabindranath Tagore said, পথের দুধারে আছে মোর দেবালয়. My temples stand along the path itself. It truly means humanism is not a destination, it is a lifelong journey of becoming more human, more aware, and more kind. This is the core of humanism. Thank you.
You're absolutely correct about humanism not being anti-religion, actually. That's something that we really need to distinguish, and that's why we made sure that there was a humanist voice on this panel, so thank you. The next question, and actually we're going to start with Divya, because she already alluded to it when she was giving her introduction, was how does your religion or tradition interact with other religions? And you mentioned in your introduction that Jainism engages obviously with Hinduism, and it can be seen maybe as a branch of Hinduism. If you want to expand on that, and then the other panelists might be able to jump in as well, because it was mentioned in some other of the panelists' talk on how the religion engages with other traditions as well.
Thank you for that question, Professor. So, as much as I can see in practice, good deeds, right knowledge, good actions, I can say that there is an overlap with all of these faiths and even with the humanism, because humanism is at the heart of even Jainism. There are differences, but theological differences are there, especially with Abrahamism. But if you talk about Eastern philosophy, Sanatan, what I personally consider is Sanatan Dharma is the umbrella term. As Mr. Rakesh said that Sanatan is eternal and Dharma is the righteous order. What is the right thing to do in that particular time period? Or let's say that I'm sitting right here, the Dharma right now is to deliver a good speech, you know? If I don't do a good job at it, then I'm probably not fulfilling my Dharma. So that being said, I consider Sanatan Dharma is the umbrella term under which different Hindu philosophies, or for that matter, different philosophies comes in, which are theistic in nature, and some of the other ones are non-theistic in nature. And Jainism is considered to be non-theistic. Even Buddhism comes under the same umbrella. If you talk about Sikhism, we consider that there's so many similarities, like how Paji said that they do Nam Japa. Advaita is the philosophy where there is no form to the God for that matter. And that is exactly what Sikhism teaches, which is very close to Advaita philosophy of Sanatana Dharma. Jainism I consider very close to dual concept of Sanatana Dharma or the other philosophy, which is Dvaita Siddhanta, or the philosophy which says that in Jainism we say Jiva and Ajiva. Jiva is the living consciousness, or which has the life in it, whereas the Ajiva is which doesn't have life in it. So inanimate object versus eminent object. And that's how it is similar to Hinduism. In many aspects, it considers soul, that the soul is eternal, it cannot be destructed by any means, and it is going to pass on from one body to another. That is called reincarnation, which has similarity with Buddhism, which has similarity with Sikhism, and definitely the Hindu philosophical thought process. So these are a couple of similarities: reincarnation, soul, eternity of soul, eternity of existence, that I can think of as the overlapping concepts with Buddhism, Sikhism, and Hinduism. And we don't do fire practices, but Hinduism does it, and maybe Rakesh ji will speak about it, which is similar to Zoroastrianism. That where the practice of worshipping the fire or having the fire altar is similar to Hindu concepts. We replaced fire with something non-so-fire, we lit a small diya, small fire as a symbol. So there are, like, symbol-wise also, there are so many similarities. Swastika is one common symbol, which I believe Sikhs have too, swastika. I don't know, you don't. So Buddhists have it, Hindus have it, Jains have it. We all have swastika, which is being the most abused symbol in my opinion, and it needs a lot of clarification. There is a difference between Heckin Cruz and swastika. So I'll leave you on that note, but symbols are similar, philosophically they are similar, Eastern philosophies are quite similar. In practice, as a human, we are all similar in basic concepts of love, compassion. Let's practice, give a lot of alms, zakat, love each other and whatnot. So theologically there might be differences with Abrahamism, but Eastern philosophies have a lot of similarities. So I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Divya. No, it answers it very well. We'll move on to Maryam. From the Muslim tradition, and the Muslim tradition obviously forms a family of religions with the Abrahamic traditions, including Judaism and Christianity. If you wanted to share a little bit about the dialogue that's engaged there, or the similarities that you have with those traditions, or other traditions as well.
Okay, so yes, we have a lot of similarities, as you mentioned. I think they all have very similar, like in terms of don't lie, don't hurt anyone, coexist. I find that a lot of times people get confused between our beliefs of coexistence. Everyone should be allowed to practice their religion however they want and to live within, like, not just like, you know, people who live, who worship Islam should live here. People who worship anything else should live here. There, everyone should be coexisting. And I find that a lot of times that gets confused with people's extreme views rather than the religious views. And yeah, so we have similarities with Christianity and like one God and all of that. Yeah, it's about it. Mostly it's just about coexisting, living together, not hurting anyone, not forcing your beliefs, your opinions on other people. And yeah, I think a lot of times we also have, not just religiously, but traditionally, we share similar clothes with a lot of people from India, and sometimes the religion and tradition get mixed up. Yeah.
I think, Miriam, the elephant in the room is something called politics, unfortunately, right? And I think that's what's coloring a lot of the religions that we have, not only on the panel, but in general, right? And that's when things become difficult, so yeah. Harleen, go ahead on the Sikh tradition.
Everyone hear me? Okay. I will don my historian's hat as I answer this question because it's quite interesting in terms of Punjab, because Punjab, the region of Punjab, has been at the crossroads of civilizations for centuries. Like if you go back archaeologically, you find Roman coins there because the Greeks have been coming, the Romans have been coming. Buddha actually got his first human form in Punjab when artists from Greece settled in Punjab and actually carved the first Buddhas, which you find in Afghanistan and northern Pakistan. And of course, the land of Vedas, Punjab is where Vedas were composed in the ancient world. South Punjab, the area of Multan, has one of the ancient sites of Jainism, and then some birthplace of Sikhism. So Sikhism being a very young religion in this very ancient land, there has always been this mingling of cultures all the time, throughout Punjab's history. And when we talk about Guru Nanak, and Guru Nanak actually, the founder of Sikhism, lives in the 15th century. This was a time when Babur, the first Mughal emperor, had just entered Punjab. And this is a time when cultures are changing, new cultures are coming to India. And Guru Nanak actually recognizes this unity of people. And one fine day, he just says something. He's like, I'm not a Hindu, I'm not a Muslim. There's no Hindu, there's no Muslim. Because at that time, there were two major religions in India, in Punjab. And that caused a controversy in Punjab. It's like, are you being a heretic? What are you saying, right? But then Guru Nanak really meant that as human beings, we could be born as a Hindu or a Muslim, but in essence, we are human beings. And that became the core value of Sikhism, because in Punjab, where you have this constant clash of people, because you've had invasions coming from Afghanistan right across the border, you've had a lot of stuff that's happening. So this principle really stays constant, and this occurs in the Guru Granth Sahib, the composition of the Sikhs, where this verse says that some people chant Ram, and the others chant Rahim, which is a translation of the exact verse. And Nanak says that I belong to the one who is common for the person who chants Ram and who chants Rahim, the Islamic version for one of the names of Allah. Right? And what is interesting is that Guru Nanak really travels across the length and breadth of the world, and he collects compositions not only from the Sufi saints in Punjab. The prime amongst them was Baba Sheikh Farid, who happens to be one of the leading Sufis of Punjab, and one of the leading figures who actually spread Islam in Punjab in the 11th, 12th century. Guru Nanak actually collects his verses, Islamic verses, and they're part of the Sikh holy texts, which we read every day. Likewise, he collects verses from Hindu saints like Surdas, who was a very, very important devotee of Krishna, right? So Guru Nanak really brings this message that as human beings, we have for us, God is one, and it doesn't matter if you're a Hindu or a Muslim. And that tradition continues in the modern age, because Punjab, as I said, has been at the crossroads of civilizations. It was a Muslim majority province with a sizable Hindu majority, but a small Sikh minority, and yet it was ruled by Sikhs for almost 50 years. And this sort of thing really happens because people were understanding each other. And until 1947, when Punjab was divided between India and Pakistan, there was this tradition where the holiest Sikh shrine, the Golden Temple in Amritsar, had Muslim musicians. And that's a tradition that continued for 300 years. There was a lineage of Muslim musicians who would sing at the holy shrine. And likewise, you had Sikh carpenters and Sikh fresco artists who adorned the most beautiful mosques in Punjab. So there was this sharing of culture and this heritage, and I think that is something which is not only unique to Sikhism, but also to Hinduism, to Islam, especially in terms of Punjab, in context of Punjab, that we've seen that Hindus, till today, a lot of Hindus in Punjab revere the Golden Temple. A lot of Sikhs revere a lot of Hindu rituals and festivals. And at the same time, I've been to this shrine in Pakistan, which is said to be the last resting site of Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism. It has Muslim devotees and Sikh devotees and Hindu devotees who go there. So the tradition still continues in spite of the divide, and I think that is the essence of Sikhism for me. Thank you.
Well, Harleen, you were correct to point out the Sufi connection. I was very impressed with that too, the Islamic mystical branch and its relationship to Sikhism, so that's excellent. That's an A+ answer, if you remember that. I couldn't resist. So we'll move on to Delna and the Zoroastrian tradition. You kind of alluded in your introductory remarks that it's kind of seen as the founder of monotheism, or one of the founders of monotheism, that influenced the other monotheistic branches. If you want to delve into that a little bit more.
Just to kind of recap, the question that we're kind of focusing on is how the religion that we're speaking about interacts with the other religions. I think I'm going to answer the question with a story that I and a lot of Parsi children are told about how the Parsis first landed in India. Because I don't know that I can honestly answer that question. So when the Parsis first arrived, they arrived to India essentially as refugees in a state on the western coast of India called Gujarat. And so the priest of the Parsis sent a message to the king of Gujarat saying, "We're here, we need shelter, can we call this our home?" The king sent back a message in the form of a glass of milk that was filled to the brim. The message was, "We're full here. We don't have enough resources, and I don't know that we can accommodate an entirely new community." The priest, having understood that message, added sugar to the milk. When I add sugar to the milk, the brim overflows, but this one didn't. So it went back, this now sweetened cup of milk, back to the king of Gujarat, and the message being that the population of Parsis, should we be allowed to stay, will only enhance the way of life, the culture, the food that currently exists within Gujarat. And so Gujarat became then the site where one of the oldest fire temples in India now is. The Parsi language today is more resemblant of Gujarati than it is of Farsi. So that's the standpoint from which I speak. If I'm to speak about or think about similarities or how Zoroastrianism might interact with other ways of life or religions, I can point out to something that each of my panelists has said, and at least in theory, there's a commonality, absolutely. The commitment to community, the personal responsibility, goodness versus not goodness, that duality. But I think the point that I can resonate with is the most is there's such an integration of that idea of oneness that that's just the standpoint from which I've always kind of thought about it. So I'm not coming at it from how do the different religions interact, because there's such a similarity that the interaction is already in the picture, if that makes sense. I'll end there.
You know, the Zoroastrian tradition, is, as you said, is a tiny tradition, but in every culture or country it's visited and lived in, it's enriched that culture and has contributed significantly. Some of you might know a very famous musician who's influenced rock and roll since the beginning to now. And that's Freddie Mercury, who was a Parsi, a Zoroastrian. A lot of people didn't know that, so there's a case in point. Okay, we'll move on to the Buddhist tradition, Samia, and talk a little bit about how Buddhism interacts with different religions, and maybe share some similarities with those religions as well.
Thank you, John, for the question. And then I think pretty much she explained about what's the common in our every religion here. So every religion speaks about humanity, and in Buddhist we view every being in this earth have the Buddha nature itself. So everybody is same, like animals, creature, everything is same. So that I think she have pretty much well explained it. So we all have like loving and compassion towards all beings, and having that oneness, and having us giving to the society. I think that itself is a oneness and common thing. Thank you.
Thanks, Sonia. No, I think that notion of oneness with all is something that's not only integral to Buddhism, but to a lot of the other religions too. So Dr. Chowdhury, Christianity.
In the scripture it says, God says, don't I shower rain and shine as well to the same, to the believers and non-believers? Bible also says, do unto others whatever you expect them to do unto you. Bible also says, among faith, hope, and love is the greatest, which simply means love covereth all. It covers all. We got to be loving our neighbors, we got to be respecting my neighbor, whatever religion he might have, and that's how we coexist. That's how we live together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Chowdhury. We'll move to Rakesh on Hinduism.
Yeah, there is several common themes, a lot of overlap, a lot of religions that come from the eastern part. The belief is that there is, the divine is formless, nirakar, which is something which I'm hearing is practiced in other religions as well. And in Hinduism, there is this Ek Onkar, which is the same as Sikhism, which is that there is just one God that is manifested in many different ways, in many different forms, but it is one. That one thing that permeates in everything, that one field of energy that exists everywhere, that's what the Hindus believe in. Amongst the religions from the East, there's also this quest for realizing who I am. Where did I come from? What's going to happen to me? Where do I go from here? And that quest is really about self-realization, that who it is, who's this person that's speaking. It's not this body that is made up of amino acids and protein and other things, but there is something beyond that. And what is that? And that quest of what is that and who I am is what is really Hinduism and the philosophy and the practice is all about. And there's many ways to actually get to that, which is to explore that being or that consciousness that I'm made up of. And there's several limbs in yoga is a very important aspect of that, and it's practiced in many different ways. So within yoga, there's 8 different ways of practicing yoga, and dhyana, which means meditation, is one of them. And through meditation and through breath, which is pranayama, one can really go deep inside and experience your own self, you know. And that practice has brought transformation to millions and billions of people, which is to really, you know, take that practice, use it to really go deep inside. And when you go deep inside, when you get rid of all the stress, when you get rid of the exterior distractions, when you can find that centeredness and that in that equanimous state of your being, in the deepest of meditation, what you are is then something that's revealed to you. And that is the true nature of the divine, the true nature of consciousness, which is not different than what you and I are. So it is this quest for understanding, for experiencing that I am that, and that which is the consciousness is me, and that can be experienced through the practice of meditation and yoga, which is something that many faiths across here also have as a practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Rakesh, and we'll move on to Dr. Baki for the humanist approach.
Thank you. Humanism is the easiest tradition to interact with others because it begins with a simple conviction: every path has value if it helps a person grow in wisdom, compassion, and peace. We do not ask anyone to leave their faith. We only ask that we meet one another as human beings first. Poets and philosophers across South Asia have long shown how such dialogue, interaction is possible. In the region where I was born and raised, Bangladesh, South Asia, Hinduism and Islam were the 2 major faiths. So many examples speak of collaboration between these traditions. But the underlying principle applies to all faiths. Poet Kazi Nazrul Islam wrote, "অসহায় জাতি মরিছে ডুবিয়া জানে না সন্তরণ, হিন্দু না ওরা মুসলিম, ওই জিজ্ঞাসে কোন জন, বল ডুবিছে মানুষ, সন্তান মোর মার." Helpless people are drowning, dying, unable even to swim. Is that person Hindu or Muslim? Someone asks from the shore. Say instead, a human being is drowning, a child of my mother. A child of my mother. Baul Shah Abdul Karim sang, "Age ki sundor din kataitam, Hindu Musalman milia gan gaitam, nimantron dito amra jaitam, bibad ghotile bichar paitam." How beautifully we lived, Hindus and Muslims together, singing songs. We invited one another and we went gladly, and when disputes arose, we found justice. Bhupen Hazarika reminded us, "Ganga amar ma, Padda amar ma, epar opar kon pare jani na, ami sob khanete achi, eki asha bhalobasha, kanna hashir eki bhasha. The Ganga is my mother, the Padda is my mother, this shore or that shore, I do not know the difference, for I belong everywhere. The same hope and loves, the same tears and laughter, we all share the same language." These few lines teach us what true interfaith interaction requires. Number 1, engage in open dialogue and strive to understand each other. Number 2, open places of worship to all, invite others in and visit the sacred spaces. Number 3, share your festivities with one another and celebrate together. Number 4, respect differences, recognizing that diversity of belief is a strength, not a barrier. Number 5, help people regardless of their faith. Number 6, offer justice regardless of their faith. Number 7, stand together against hatred, discrimination, and violence toward any community. if I say what we learned today from the right to left, I would say I'm learning from Buddhism that sufferings happen when we put I before we. Okay, second, Christianity, I learned love. Then Hinduism, I would say, don't harm anyone. Like there is a saying that before you sit on a chair, clean it first so that you don't kill insects there. Then Jainism, non-violence. Then Muslim, zakat, give to the poor. Yeah? And Sikhism, service. I have seen it firsthand in Gurudwara. And the Jerusalem, oneness of God. So thank you very much.
I want to thank you, Faisal, because you saved me some time in summarizing the 8 religions. It was very good, thank you. At this point, I'd like to call upon my colleague, Navini, to come forward and offering some concluding remarks. And I want to say one thing, it's been a great pleasure for me to facilitate this panel. As I said, it's the biggest panel I've facilitated in all my years, and it worked out well. So thank you to the 8 panelists, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you everyone. I know it's a tough act to follow Dr. Bhagi after his passionate, statement about humanism and all the other religions. But we are extremely thankful to the Assumption University team, everyone here, for working with us on this, interesting evening. And I can see that many of you have been looking and learning so much about other religions. I thank all my South Asian Center team here who are here to help with the refreshments and also with the planning. I'd like to thank each one of you who are here to celebrate this evening with all of us. And it is amazing to see the diversity we have here in Windsor and how important it is for us as South Asians to see that each one of us here represented are from Nepal, Bangladesh, India, Afghanistan, and they're all sharing the religions which we all share together here in Windsor. So we are very proud today that Windsor Essex is so well represented in terms of religion, but at the same time how we all practice oneness, and we all want to live cooperatively here and do the best for us. So thank you again. Thank you to our MP Kathy Borelli for taking her time in spite of a busy schedule. We have an amazing refreshments here thanks to the Gordie Howe Community Benefits Proposal. We were able to ask for some funds to help us bring this important gathering. And we know as much as South Asians love talking, we also love eating. And who doesn't love eating? So we have some refreshments for you. So please join us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and please take part in some of the refreshments and desserts there. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of the evening.